Hey, Mike, you're muted.
I was singing to myself. I was just singing. I was singing, I'm all alone. Nobody here to help me
Well, other than lonely, how
or
else you going?
unmute me. John has the link. I don't know. I don't know where he is. Hopefully he'll be here soon. I said just pop in whenever you want. I have a schedule. I have a deadline. I have people in the chat here who depend on me day in day out
Mm-hmm.
to not be over a minute late in the start. So
Yes,
we just start anyway. How are you going, Blue?
I'm okay. Just a little sluggish today. That's all. So
That's all right. That's all right. We all get a bit like that. You know, especially for you, it's night time. Look what I got. I got a
what's an
box.
A15 or a one
It's a kind of
A5?
box, I guess.
Oh.
It is a an external hard drive for my new computer.
Ah,
So now I don't have to every night load up everything that I'd worked on that day to Google Drive.
right.
Which is getting annoying, to say the least.
So this is some kind
Uh,
of huge multi-terabyte thing.
it's only 6. I thought I would be prudent because I do
Oh,
still have some terabytes left on the old one. Not enough to do a full backup, but some.
only
6
six.
is enough.
That's
6
something
is
for
enough.
Moda to deal with. It's only six. Yeah.
Remember when it used to be, you know, hundreds of megabytes?
Or I remember it used to be, a kilobyte was a big deal. So,
I'm pretty sure the zip disks were 100 megabytes.
yep.
I think that was the big thing. You get 100 megabytes on a single zip disk.
Yeah, and then they had them for 250 as well, same size. They reminded me of the little chunks they used to shove in the computer in the old Star Trek. Those zip disks. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They had a cool sound. I liked them. They were very of their time. Let's say hello to some people in the chat while we wait for John to poke his head in. I hope he's okay.
I miss those. Thanks for the nostalgia.
Yeah. Rick Saylor, first in line. He says, "Hail Lord Crackhead." All right. Hail Lord Crackhead as well. Maybe Lord Crackhead was here, and he left. I don't know. VIP says, "How Comics Get?" Absolutely, buddy. Great to see you here. Mo Biggs is here. He says, "How VIP?" Mr. Struth is in the house. He's howling everyone as well, including me. Adiga Outlaw says, "Good evening." Good evening to you. Black Rose Comics. I saw you in Ethan's chat earlier. Great to see you here, buddy. He says, "How chat?" I mean, I assume Black Rose Comics is a he. Could be a she. I don't know. I don't know these things. William C is here. Looks like a dude. He says, "How CG?" How sexy chat? Great to see you here, buddy. Antoine, always a pleasure to see you here. He says, "Evening all." Yes, I said I did not want to start late today because I have started late a couple of times lately. So I don't want to disappoint you guys. Mo is in the house. BoogieBot Comics says, "Hey, howdy, hey." That's a nice, easy one today. Thank you for that, BoogieBot Comics. Everyone pointing out my stupidity. Yes, yes, yes. You guys, sometimes you start making me think like I've got a professional show here, so I do have to sometimes bring it all back down to earth. What are you saying here? Come to think of it, I shouldn't have been in such a rush. Exactly, BoogieBot. Exactly. Hex Allen is in the house. Right on schedule. Absolutely, always.
Schedule.
Lord Finatra. What's that?
Schedule.
Schedule, yes. Schedule, not schedule. Lord Finatra says, "Hail Michael and Blue." Great to see you here too, Lord Finatra. And I think that's everyone we said hello to. So, yes, thanks for joining. And as well, in the house,
John? Yeah,
the
John.
man himself.
Yes, sir.
John, how are you
Yes.
going?
How you doing, Michael?
I'm doing very well. We very briefly, quote unquote, met. I didn't have my camera on, I don't think.
No.
Day on Shay's channel. I was being a bit silly. I was being a bit of a joker. I should apologize to Shay for that. I was derailing her writing chat. But it's great to have you here face to face. How do I pronounce your last name? Is that Hervey?
Hervey.
Hervey.
Hervey. Yes, sir. So, man, it's good to be on. Blue Samurai, what's going on?
Hey, how you doing, Mr. Hervey? It's exactly as it's spelled.
Yeah.
I know, but I don't know. Here in Australia, we do pronounce things like that. Sometimes Harvey. I don't know why.
People love to call me Harvey. They see it and they're like, "Yep, nope, I'm not going to call him Hervey. I'm going to call him Harvey."
Well, no, it's great to have you here. We're going to get to know you a little bit today because I wasn't aware of you and is it your imprint?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, there you go. So we can get a little bit into that as well.
Yeah.
And sort of get to know where you're coming from. I do remember Black Tiger though. I remember seeing the art and thinking this looks cool. Your campaign was around at the start of this year. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That's right. That's right.
It's still in demand, I believe.
That's correct.
We're going to take a look at that today. Once I figure out how to get things going.
Yes, I did. I did an initial campaign on Kickstarter, actually.
Yep.
And then I followed up with an Indiegogo campaign that that campaign went into demand earlier this year.
So we're really late getting to know you then.
You know what, man? The reality of the matter is as beautiful as the book is, I'm like the antithesis when it comes to like the marketing piece. So I've done a horrendous job of just,
that is
making
something
it known.
I was going to bring up to you today because just looking through the collateral, this is a beautiful looking book.
Thank you, man.
So I would have expected bigger numbers, but as I've always said, and it seems to be panning out across the board, this game seems to be about 90% promotion.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess you've found that out yourself.
Found out the hard
We'll get
way.
into that.
You know, I mean,
Yeah.
it's like you kind of, and you know, it's silly to think, you know, build it and they will come. That's silly. You know, you gotta reach out. You gotta be part of the community. And I think that's been the fun I've actually been having. I was so focused on the production, but like now that like even like getting on Shay's show, it's just like being part of the community, and you realize that's a lot of fun. You know, and it's necessary.
You know, I do this show pretty much every night, and probably, you know, one of the most fun things about it is getting to meet new people who love comic books and want to make cool stuff. So people like yourself, and the chat is full of people who like to meet new people who are, you know, into all that stuff. So it's all win-win over here.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I was in the exact same boat. I had my head down for 5 years, just working. You know, I put stuff up on Twitter every now and then, but you know, you have a Twitter account, so you would know. If no one really knows or cares about you, it doesn't matter how good it is, the stuff that you're putting up there. It just disappears.
Yeah, you're tweeting into space, man.
Exactly.
I was just like, yeah. I'm like, this is awesome, and nobody cares.
Yeah. And then, well, I have found out as well that once you do start getting a name and getting yourself out there, you start sharing that same stuff that just you tweeted into nothing, and all of a sudden people like it and it's getting retweets. So you do sort of start to see like you really got to work hard at getting people to know who you are. When you're doing this, but I guess that's what part of this is about. So what we like to do on this show is actually get to know people.
Awesome.
So why don't you tell the lovely chat here a little bit about your background in comics?
All right. So in terms of my love for comics, I mean, that's been eternal. I think my mom thought that I wouldn't read, but because comics existed, I actually started to read as a kid. So her friends would be like, "Why are you getting so many comics? So he'll actually read something." You know, I've in terms of working in comics, I was first published. I'm going to age myself. I was first published in the mid '90s with a company. Well, Motown had an animation / comic book group out of Los Angeles, in the Wilshire area, and a buddy of mine was working there, and he got me a gig kind of as a gopher. Hey, Antoine, what's going on, man? He got me a gig as a gopher, and Michael Davis was the CEO of that company. Michael Davis was one of the founders of Milestone. And, you know, I got on board and I was so gung-ho. I was like, "Oh, Michael, I've got so many great ideas." And he's like, "Listen, son," he's like, I already have kind of my slate of projects that I'm going to get done, and I have my creators. You're not going to have a chance to write here. And I was like, okay, but, you know, if you're a writer, what you do is you write. So you continue to write. And a buddy of mine, Chuck Drost, he had one of his projects was one of the ones that was going to get made called Trouble Man. And I would work with him after hours on his project, and just, you know, we would riff on ideas, and I would write things up. I'll write scripts and things of that nature. We had like a nice little story arc going. And fast forward about a year and a half into the job, Michael Davis comes to me and he says, "Well, listen, John, it was a Thursday." And he says, "I need you to come back on Tuesday, and I need you to come back with a script for Trouble Man." And he's like, "I know I told you you wouldn't be doing any kind of writing here, but the person that was writing on the book, they haven't delivered." And that's another big thing, hitting your deliverable deadlines. And he said, "No pressure, but, you know, if this sucks, then you can just kiss it goodbye, because you'll never work here again. But no pressure. Just bring me a good script." So I was like, okay, great, you know. So I was a little bit stressed out, but he didn't realize till years later. He's like, "You piece of crap." Like years later, I told him, "Well, I actually already have the scripts written because I've been working with Chuck. But, you know, you got to go back home and act like, you know." So I definitely massaged the scripts, you know, and went over them a number of times. But I definitely I wasn't slaving away like he thought I was, because I had already had the scripts written.
Work smart, not hard.
So then I show back up on Tuesday, and he's like, these are decent. So that was my first time getting writing credits on a book. Was that miniseries, and Motown Animation, they published.
What year was that?
That was 94, 95.
Okay, yep.
And that was Motown, they were publishing through Image at the time. So that was the first time I got published. So that was fun, and that was cool, and got to meet a lot of the Image kids, back then, and go to shows and have fun. Unfortunately for Motown, that whole thing, for a number of reasons, it just collapsed. And part of it was market. I mean, we were kind of at the end of the boom market, and I think Motown's take was, hey, we're going to sell 1 million units of books, per, but that was already tapering off. The market was no longer in that space. Yeah. So I think when Motown saw the numbers, which were decent numbers for comics, but they were like, this is not where we're going to invest our money and our time. So that whole thing, unfortunately, kind of dissipated. But at that point, I had already kind of gotten a taste of publishing. I'd been trying to get in as a writer. And then subsequent to that, honestly, I spent a lot of time putting in submissions. And, there's only a handful of jobs out there, especially with the big two. And I met some great editors and stuff like that, but I didn't get put on for any of those. So I said, hey, I've got my own idea, and why don't I just go ahead and see if I can publish this myself? Mm-hmm. And that's
this is heading.
Yeah. So basically, my girlfriend at the time, my now wife of 15 years, we were in Santa Barbara just vacationing, and I had just this. I basically had the idea for Black Tiger, so I kind of had a download for it, and I told her my idea, and I wrote out a story arc for it while we were out there on vacation, and then I formed a company. she's like, really? And I'm like, yeah, and you're part of it too. She's like, oh, okay, well, that's good to know. Yeah, you're an officer. She's like, what does that mean? I'm like, I don't know. We'll figure it out. And that's kind of how this whole adventure started. Published the first issue of Black Tiger: Legacy of Fury back in, I think it was 2004. And I published through Diamond, published the first 4 issues. And it was a challenging road to be an unknown independent and not have like a distribution house behind me. So started going in different directions. The internet was starting to proliferate more. So started to publish more things that we started producing online. So part of it was production value. So I had to, and this was a great lesson for me too, because when I was at Motown Animation, there were certain duties I took care of, but I didn't take care of the whole pipeline of production. So there's one of the things I definitely realized. I had beautiful pencils, and I even had really, really excellent inks, but my colors were subpar, my letters were subpar, and that will kill a book. Either just one of those. Yeah. One of the two of those will kill a book, and having both. So, the first issue sold well, and then it kind of, it went downhill, and it was more based on the production value. So one of the things I had to do when we published the books online was I had to have the colors and the letters redone for those issues. So the first 4 issues, I had to have the colors and letters redone. So I'm learning all this stuff the hard way. Then went on to publish issues 5 and 6 of Black Tiger, and subsequently started publishing other properties. Like you can see there, if you scroll down a little bit, there's Magna, the last Pantheon. Actually, all 6 issues of that story arc are completed, so that's going to be the next campaign. And I have 2 other story arcs that are kind of in process right now. One called The Orphans, the other one called The Posse. And they all take place in the same universe. And I have another story that I have yet to publish, but in 2021, I'll have that fifth property published, as well as the next graphic novel for Black Tiger. Because believe it or not, my artist Rod and I, we are already more than 85% done with the next 6 issues for Black Tiger. So he's starting. He's yeah.
Oh, you guys are busy, huh?
Yeah.
This is actually pretty surprising. No one's ever come on here with all this done and looking good like this. A super professional website, and that's a lot of stuff that you've been making there.
Now you were talking about publishing the first 4 issues of Black Tigers earlier, and you've been in this creating game for quite some time. So when you first started publishing and you learned those hard lessons about color and lettering, were you publishing in print at that time, or has this never been?
That was purely print. That was purely in print. So
ouch.
The first, yeah, exactly. Those were expensive lessons that I learned. So I mean, at the time we were distributing through Diamond. Mm-hmm. So it was a very different game. I mean, we're talking about, taking out a page ad in, kind of, because Diamond, I mean, most folks probably know, but Diamond, had just this Bible that came out on a monthly basis, mm-hmm. For the retailers, and you're basically, because you need to sell to the retailers, and you also need to sell to the, to the ultimate audience, to the customers. So the retailers would go through and, this was an unknown property, but I was working with folks that I knew, like Greg Horn and some other folks. So I was like, well, let me put that splash page up there so they could see it. So they'll at least give it a go. But all those things are pretty expensive. I mean, not to I don't know. Not to say anything particularly bad about the way Diamond was operating, because
it's all right.
It's
you
a business.
Can say bad stuff about Diamond on this channel. We've said plenty of it.
But the reality of the matter is, those books that Diamond puts out, those big ones, mm-hmm. and a lot of their those are made on the backs of independents that are actually paying the money. Because
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I mean, so, the independents are the ones that are actually paying, for the ad space and all those kind of things like that. And, I guess they figure with Marvel and DC that are moving more books, they're not paying for those things.
Yeah, they don't have to. They're just going to sell on the name of the character or the writer or the artist or whoever.
Exactly. So if there's going to be a Spider-Man book in there, they're going to let them have that full page ad in there for free. Because Spider-Man is going to move numbers,
Where you were doing all that, and that's, like I said, very impressive. That's a really, I've been onto a lot of these independent imprint sites. I can't actually recall many, if any, that look. Every single book there looks super professional quality. Really good looking books. So congratulations on that. When did you get into the crowdfunding game?
So I first crowdfunded a buddy of mine who I went to USC with. He was in the film school, and he's a film nut. He's also a comic book nut. So we're both comic book geeks, and he had made some shorts and full length features indie style. And when I pitched to him the fact that I wanted to make Black Tiger live action, he flipped, and he was like, yes. And he was already, this is the crazy thing, is he was already working on a film. So he was crowdfunding a film called Lumpia 2, because he already done the first Lumpia movie. So he was already in the midst of full crowdfunding. He's like, no, I've got to do this. So with his assistance, we kickstarted we did a Kickstarter Indiegogo campaign for a short film called Black Tiger Hunter Hunted. We had Robin Shu from Mortal Kombat in the short, and Angela Fong, who was a WWE diva, in the short, and we ended up making a 20 minute Black Tiger film. And man, it was an awesome, amazing, crazy experience, because raising the funds was crazy because we almost, Kickstarter, we almost didn't get to our goal. And then when we did get to our goal, so we got to our goal, I shouldn't say that. We got to our goal with probably like a week left in the campaign, but we were so out of gas, we couldn't push it anymore. I mean, we were so, that campaign was insane. Absolute insanity. So we're fortunate we're able to raise the capital, for the film. We're able to get really great deals on locations just from folks that we knew. People like Robin and Angela that could command a lot of money. They're just good people, and they everybody really worked with us, and we put together just an awesome kind of short, fun film. It ended up winning Spirit of Comic-Con Award in 2014, and we debuted it at WonderCon and had it over at the Cinemark over there at WonderCon. So it was just a good time. But it's one of those things where, so I dabbled in that, and that was fun, and not just dabbled, but enjoyed it. But the challenge with that is making something like that sustainable. The kind of capital you need to make a project like that, recurring, to make recurring episodes, and you can't make recurring episodes of film every 2 years. You just can't do that.
Any kind of video production that I've ever been tangentially involved in, it just seemed like an absolute nightmare. What was the first comic book you crowdfunded?
This graphic novel.
This graphic novel.
This graphic novel.
You got the Kickstarter campaign and then the Indiegogo campaign.
Yes, yeah, okay. And I'd say that my biggest learning has been the importance of community. I mean, above and beyond just being a creator, being a comic book lover and geek, the community is what's so important. And I didn't get that at the beginning. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's, quite honestly, and I'm grateful for the learning, but quite honestly, the campaign has underperformed, and I know that's the reason why.
And that's just community gives you promotion, and that's what helps. But if I heard you correctly, the Black Tiger has existed for you since the 90s. Is that right? Sorry,
yeah.
I
created Black Tiger in the early 2000s.
Okay, I'm sorry, the early 2000s. And
yeah.
It sounds like you and your artist have a relationship going way back across all of these titles. Is that right?
So Rod and I have been working together for over 15 years.
Yeah.
I've been harassing him for so long.
But does he do your other titles as well?
No, he does not. Okay. So I work with Marcio Abreu, who's done. He's been working with Dynamite on Red Sonja, and he's been doing a few other, some other projects I think some other Dynamite books as well. So he's the one that has done mostly worked on Magna. And in terms of the covers, two of the covers are by Elizabeth Torque. And then the other four are actually by her brother, Eduardo, who's super talented as well.
It's a recurring thing that we've seen hosting a lot of people here on this show, that you've clearly got a pretty huge background in the scene and everything, how it used to be, like you're talking about Diamond and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But we've found that when it comes to crowdfunding, you really almost do have to start from scratch.
Yeah.
Even people like Dan Frager, he laid out a lot of ground game stuff for many, many months, probably even going back over a year before he launched Black Flag.
Yeah.
And then the results really show. And I've seen that it does surprise some people. I've had a couple of people on here, industry veterans going back decades. And then they do the crowdfund and it doesn't quite, hit the way they needed it to. And it's just a strange new thing now with Twitter and YouTube and everything. There's people that, that's sort of where they exist with comics. That's how you know everyone is through that. So if you're not big there, then all that stuff that you did before, It doesn't mean that much all of a sudden. Great for you though, now that you've got it all, so it's all there. I know Antoine pointed out earlier, uh, the advantage that you have at least is that you've got all this stuff there. You've got a history of fulfilling, well, I shouldn't even say fulfilling, delivering on books and everything. So
Yeah.
um, all that's left is to get people to know you. Like I said earlier, I do remember seeing this art back in the day, but again, it's this is the thing of crowdfunding. I don't think I didn't know who you were.
Right.
And
Right.
That panel right there, I remembered seeing, but then never seeing again. So I couldn't follow up on it in back in like December or something.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the other challenge with with being on social media, not having a footprint. So it's like, because like I see cool things, but admittedly, a lot of the cool things, like Michael, I see your stuff. You know what I mean? So like I see it consistently, but it's like if you don't have a footprint, like you were saying, you may see it in passing one time, be like, but I never saw it again.
Yeah, I think I've got a similar feeling to you, Blue. I saw a panel down here. This is the one I remember. Let me have a look. This one, I remember seeing this and thinking, oh, that looks really cool. But I didn't. Yeah, like you said, I don't recall seeing it again. So it is nuts just how much that is. The whole promotion side is about it. But before we go on, why don't you give us a little bit of a brief rundown on what this story actually is?
Yeah, definitely. So, as a background for the Black Tiger, kind of in comics, we all kind of understand the whole concept of mantles. We think of Batman and how Bruce Wayne is the Batman. There may be folks that may fill in here and there, but Bruce Wayne is the Batman. With regards to Black Tiger, this is a power. This is a mantle that's been handed down for centuries. So we come to a point in time where, for a couple of generations now, the Black Tiger has actually been in the United States, having come from China. So we're at a place where we have two siblings, a brother and a sister, who are both Chinese American, but they're more American than Chinese, and their father is the Black Tiger. The brother is aware of the legacy of Black Tiger and their family, but his sister isn't. And it's basically a story kind of it's a hero's journey. It's a hero's journey for the sister. The brother and the sister are very similar in certain ways, but they're very different also in certain ways. And the brother, he's a very smart guy, but he's in a triad. So his direction is he's on a very different path, and he gets the power, and he starts to head down a very different path. And it's really the story of how the sister gets into the know about what's going on in her family, and how she actually becomes what we think, at least initially, the first Black Tiger. But I've got stuff in the next graphic novel that'll expand on that as well, as to whether she's really the first female Black Tiger.
Now the sister isn't the same as the woman with the dragon on her back. The tattoo.
No.
Okay.
Her sister's the one getting choked out by the one with the dragon on her back.
All right. See, I came late when watching Shay's stream the other day, and then I saw the artwork. I was like, "Hey, I haven't seen this in months." And I got you from Shay's stream. But that was something I didn't get clear that day.
Shay was digging the tattoo, because the thing that she noticed, like the tattoo is actually, it's a manifestation of her power. So if you look at the top, you see it's very kind of faint, because the two are fighting, and Jen, who's the Black Tiger, she's not the Black Tiger at this point, but she does know martial arts, so she's giving the other girl the business. So then the girl's power starts to manifest. So you can kind of see it, the dragon getting darker. And that's how she kind of takes control of the fight.
That's kind of an intense way to get some touch-ups done.
Yeah, it is.
It's fading a little bit. Punch me in the face.
Exactly.
Is that the brother and the sister there, down the bottom?
So the ones, the two fighting.
just down here at the bottom in this blue,
In the inset
panel.
In the inset. So this is actually kind of it's a vision sequence that she's having. And that's actually one of the prior Black Tigers.
Oh. So, by the way, speaking of prior, the name Black Tiger, although different characters has been used before, has that been a problem in any way?
No, because back in 2002 or 3, when we first started, we did a search and we were able to protect the name.
Okay.
I mean, Black Tiger had been used for I think it was like a video game and some other things, but it was dormant. So that's one of the lessons I learned also about your IP, just making sure that you protect the name and make sure that you keep that current. Because actually, one of the things, I did have an incident where somebody actually published a Black Tiger book. And you could probably find it out there. Then I had my lawyer reach out to them, and then they renamed the book something else, Tiger. But it was Gotham Chopra who actually published a book and tried to call it Black Tiger.
Yeah, I said that. I mean, there's a Marvel Black Tiger who has nothing to do with your character, and then there's a DC video game from Ultraverse that also has nothing to do with your character. I started to wonder, whoa, this is dangerous territory. So it's good. You got to protect it.
Yep, exactly.
I really dig this cover.
Yeah. So the 6 covers were by Greg Horn. I met Greg. I just met him. I met him literally online. I literally just I reached out to him because I had already known of him, but I hadn't met him in person. Nice, really nice guy. And just reached out to him, let him know what I was up to, and he was receptive. And at that time, artists didn't have exclusive contracts, kind of like they often do now. So he was working. I think he was working for Marvel at the time, but he was still able to work on these covers. But now the contracts are like the contract he has now is more of an exclusive contract.
Yeah, John, a little subject change here. Why martial arts?
Because I love it.
Okay, so you practice. What have you practiced?
So I've practiced martial arts called Sansu Kung Fu. All the martial arts I've practiced have been Kung Fu. Okay. So I practiced a martial arts called Sansu, and I actually practiced a martial art that is an offshoot of Black Tiger, a Black Tiger style. But the funny thing was, and that's all stuff that's going to get interwoven into the story as well later. A little bit of I won't say a history lesson, but a fictionalized history lesson. What do they say, like in the movies, based on true events?
Yeah.
Not
the actual events.
Exactly. You see that? That means that's not really what happened, but there's some elements of truth in there.
By the way, I forget which one it was, but Comics with Drew says that one of those covers we showed is outstanding.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that was the one that we were just looking at. This one here. Hang on, this one.
So yes, you've drawn real events into your book, even though it's not a biography or anything. There's also a question: do you prefer Northern or Southern Kung Fu?
Well, I'll tell you this. I'll tell you what I grew up on. I grew up watching a lot of the old kind of Cantonese movies. So in terms of, there's Kung Fu in terms of what I practice, but then there's also Kung Fu in terms of the movies and like the choreography and kind of the, it's almost like a dance. And that's one of the things that I tried to incorporate in the books. And I really tried to choreograph the kung fu in the books, and a lot of it is it's actually based on different styles of kung fu. I never practiced karate, but I have some friends that do. So I tried to honor that a little bit as well with some of the other characters. But man, kung fu, man. I mean, who could? Come on, man. It's kung fu and superheroes, and you get a good cat. You get a good cat fight.
Did you ever watch Marco Polo TV series?
No.
There's a character in that called Thousand Eyes. He's a blind monk he's been blinded by and enslaved pretty much by Genghis Khan. Or is it Kublai Khan. And he's just the best kung fu guy around. Anyway, it's really they even did a little mini show on him because he was so cool.
Really?
He's blind, and he's like Daredevil. He uses his senses of hearing and feeling and everything. And it's
so kind of based off like Master of the Flying Guillotine, like old school kind of Master of the Flying Guillotine kind of guy.
Maybe I'm not familiar with that. I'm pretty much of a noob on a lot of old kung fu flicks. But there's a great scene where he says to Marco Polo, when you go back to the West, what will you tell them about kung fu? What will you tell them it is? Is it fighting and kicking, or is it? And he goes into the whole thing of it. No, like kung fu is the supreme mastery of a skill through dedication and patience and all that sort of stuff. It's a really great scene. It's worth watching just to see him fight. Some of his fight scenes are incredible.
Yeah, because isn't that ultimately what kung fu means? Hard work.
Yeah, it's like I think that's what he says. It's
that's
like
what it means.
Mastery of a skill through hard work.
It's hard work.
Yeah.
And I love that. And I know somebody had asked about northern versus southern, and I just appreciate kung fu, but I know that at least kind of the style that I practiced most recently was much more of a southern style, and so is the kind of the black tiger.
It was 100 eyes apparently. I exaggerated the amount of eyes, but yes, he said it sucks the show got cancelled. When I watched
I didn't even see it. How did I miss that?
And it's not really a kung fu show. It's just got this kung fu guy in it. Although the first season does have a dude. He's pretty amazing. He used the praying mantis style. It's pretty dope. But Lord Crackhead, I checked up on it. Apparently, it cost Netflix $200 million.
What?
Like that's how much they made from that. They lost $200 million from that show. So,
is that possible?
No wonder. Oh man, you see the show?
Is it amazing?
They are like, well, it is amazing, but you question their sanity, the sets that they built, and it's like Game of Thrones in its scope, except I don't think many people watched it.
I hadn't even heard of it.
Yeah, there you go.
I guess I'll watch it, even though it's too late.
Go check out 100 Eyes and the praying mantis fighter from Marco Polo. It is pretty impressive.
100 Eyes. Writing it down. I'm there.
Okay, Comics with Drew asks, are these perks just perks for in demand? And you removed perks. Did you remove perks? I don't know what you're talking
So
about.
what happened was one of the perks.
Yeah, I see.
One of the perks for the books were, getting your name, getting like a thank you in the book.
Yep.
But the book's already gone to print, so
Right.
I had to remove that one.
So there was a question earlier in the chat when we were just sort of getting to know you, which was when do the books ship? Like if they order them now, when do they ship?
So the softcover books are ready. So the softcover books are shipping.
Excellent.
And the hardcover will be once we finish the printing. So hopefully we'll have that done within the next week or two. Get the hardcover printed, and then we'll be able to ship those out as well.
And now the same guy wanted to mention the reason he asked about which style you prefer is just there is a Walloon temple near him. That's why.
Oh, that's cool. Where are you? Where is he?
I don't know. And
He's in Shaolin.
I was about to say. Yeah.
He's at the top of a
temple.
mountain somewhere.
Yeah. Wow.
All right, so we should mention this.
he's down the street from the temple. Duh.
This is
Exactly.
This is 172 pages, and
Yes, sir.
we've seen the artwork. I mean, 172 pages of this for $25 if you get the soft cover. That could actually be possibly the best value we've ever seen on the show.
Well, one of the things I was trying to bring to the table, especially with it being my first book that I was crowdfunding, I had a little bit of an advantage in terms of I had a good chunk of the production already paid for.
Mm-hmm.
So I really, I wanted to get the book into people's hands, and I wasn't really so concerned. I got to make sure I'm at least covering my costs. So I'm doing that, but I really wasn't concerned about really trying to make too much on the book. I wanted to just try to get it out into people's hands. And that's pretty much what this pricing is, especially at the low kind of numbers, because printing is a scale game. Mm-hmm. So this is pretty much for the 150 soft cover books that I'm moving between the two campaigns. That's pretty much cost. So, and same thing for the hardcovers. Because I know someone had asked me on another show, why are the hardcovers so expensive? Because I'm moving so few of them.
Because they're hardcovers.
They're hardcovers, and I'm moving so few of them. I don't look at that number and think I'm making money on that.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah,
I got the hardcover.
Printing.
Sorry, Mom. I got the hardcover of another book called Earthbound, and it looks like it's just the same guts as the soft cover, but they put it in a hardcover, or no changes. Are you printing the hardcover with the same guts, or is it rescaled, different size? What is it?
So it's going to be pretty much the same guts. So I mean the hardcover and the because at first I actually had them as different sizes, and that was insane. The printer's like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. not for your tiny budget and the little bit of stuff you're moving. We're not doing that. Oh. So it's gonna be the same guts, but it's a totally different process for binding. So I mean the whole actual process, even though the guts are the same, it's a completely different process for getting the book.
Oh. There was another insanely popular campaign Through the Woods where I had their old floppies, and so it wasn't even simultaneously printed, but they decided that their hardcover was going to be larger, and they had to adjust a lot of the pages, I think I heard him say. So, okay, you lucked out. Yeah. It's the same guts.
Well, Vinny's got a good I mean, I bought that. Vinny's got and rightfully so. He's I love his artwork. He's got a good fan base too, so he's probably got more critical mass where he can do things like that.
Yeah, the reason he said this many times, the reason he did it was because he just had so many people finding out about him and saying, what is this? Where can I get this? Mm-hmm. And he's like, well, it's sold out now. But so yeah, that's why. There's so many people asking him. Well, I'm going to do a hardcover. I mean, why not? So you've also got. Is that a slipcase there? The hard case one. Yeah.
So the hard case is a hardcover with a slipcase that has wraparound art on it. So that way you can just kind of.
Yeah. I think I've only bought Scurry by Max Smith in a hard case, and his was $100 as well. So I don't think I think it's a pretty reasonable price considering these are short run independent. This is a massive book.
Yeah,
sounds reasonable to me.
I'll tell you my thought process was, I mean, I have crowdfunded, I've supported a lot of books, and I continue to do so. And one of the things, especially when I get a book that I like, it's tough when you get like the first two beats of a book, and then you're like, okay, I'm gonna get the next couple of beats in 2021 or 2022. I'm like, I need to read this soon. I had enough problems going to a comic shop and waiting for a month. Yeah. So now I gotta wait for a year to get the next couple of beats of the story. I'm like, So at least what I try to do with this is like, it is one completed story arc. So it's gonna take you towards the next story arc, but you can read it in its entirety, and you'll at least get a button at the end of that, and then you can, go on to the next graphic novel.
Nice. So, speaking of print runs, are you going a little bit over on the soft covers, or are you really cutting it tight?
Right now, I'm cutting it tight, and I think, and this is the thing, I didn't want to find myself in my place tripping over boxes of books that I didn't move.
Yeah.
So I'm
that you
so
paid for and didn't.
Even worse, right?
Yeah.
So like I've just bought like furniture,
Yeah.
that I didn't want. So.
Yeah, but maybe you could turn them into furniture. Stack them up as a sofa or something.
Yeah,
a kitchen table made of books. Yeah,
it's expensive enough. It's like, man, I should have just gotten a real sofa.
So for us who just found you very late, because we are discovering you late, I discovered you late this week. We're going to be getting, we'll get our books, but there's not going to be a lot of leftovers for people who are even later than us.
That's correct.
Okay.
But this is the plan. The plan is because the soft covers have already been printed. I'm not planning on printing more at this point. Mm-hmm. So we'll fulfill the soft covers till they're done. The same with the hard covers. We'll go into a campaign for Magna, but I'll actually, do a better job of getting a runway, letting people know that the campaign is coming, and hopefully do a better job of getting the word out there so that people can get on board, and then when we go, the next one after that will be the next Black Tiger series, and at that point, if there's enough traction, I wouldn't mind doing a second printing for the first graphic novel at that point. Okay. Yeah.
Have you heard of Rob Arnold?
Yes.
So he, on his Twitter, if you follow him on Twitter,
mm-hmm.
he has a document. I'm going to bring it up.
Okay.
Where is it? Hang on, let me share that screen. Here it is. So I'll probably just have to scroll down. This is not planned, guys. Nothing here is planned. There it is. So yeah, he's got a document. It's a Google document. And it's just basically a checklist of what essentially we've kind of learned. A lot of people have learned over the last 3 years of what to do and what not to do. And some things that you really, really, really should be doing when you are planning to launch a campaign. So I encourage everyone to first follow Rob Arnold on Twitter. And then if you are a creator, check out this Google document. He's just updating it for free. We did a what not to do stream the other day, and I did a tweet thread about that subject just the other day as well. He's actually added all this stuff into that document.
That's awesome
as well. So yeah, that's a really invaluable resource, and because there's so many things to think about. Well, as you're well aware of, so many things to think about in just even building the campaign, and then on top of that, you've got to be out there promoting all the time. It does get overwhelming.
Yeah, I mean it's and just because I've figured out a lot of things not to do doesn't mean I've figured out the things to do. So I definitely appreciate a resource like that.
It's really cool that he does that. I do believe, I'm going to give you a refresh here. 79 backers. You picked up a backer.
All right. Thank you, new backer. I appreciate that.
Sorry,
we're
John.
going to claim that here on the show, so that's because of us. So,
it is.
How the chat.
It is.
So are you at Hervey, John? Hervey?
What was that? Yeah. So I am. You can find me at Beyond Time Inc. At Beyond Time Inc.
I don't know if I want to just share that because I don't know what I'm looking at, but yes, there it is there. Okay, I will share that.
There we go. John
It
from
is.
Beyond is the nickname. Okay.
That's me.
John from Beyond.
Yes, sir.
There it is. And look, books.
Books.
We
Yes.
like to see books. They're real.
Get your
All of
books.
them. You'll
They
get
are
them.
real. They exist. Here, let me grab one.
That's such. I mean, that alone is a huge advantage.
It's real.
In the
It's thick.
in the
It's real.
in the thing.
Thick.
Thick thighs save
Oh,
lives.
there it is. There.
It's thick. Come on, we all love thickness. There it is.
Okay. I tweeted Rob's tweet at you.
Speaking of Twitter, Antoine shared this with me just before the stream. Check this out. The Australian loo roll holder. So you go into the
That's just
toilet,
frightening.
and that's how you got to get your toilet paper off that bad boy.
Oh,
And then he asked me, do we call it a loo roll? And I said, fancy people might. True blue Aussies call it a bog roll. So there you
That's
go.
the word I learned was bog.
what is bog?
The toilet room.
Oh, okay. I didn't know
Yeah.
that. Okay.
Well, it is also a word that you can use for what you do in the toilet.
Gotcha.
So you can take a
So-
bog.
Okay,
But
so
it's pretty crude.
so it's a noun and a verb.
Exactly, that's exactly right.
Okay.
Yeah, we also call that room the dunny.
The
Oh,
dunny.
we have lots of
Okay.
words for all this stuff. A lot of words.
Okay.
So if people want to go look at maybe the covers and the blurbs for your next campaign, Magna, they can go to Beyond Time Comics, the website.
That's right. They can go to
Okay.
Beyond Time Comics. You can
Yeah.
see what we got cooking.
Yeah, we looked at that earlier. It's a great looking site. These are great looking books, and I'm really happy that you're here, getting yourself out a bit more.
Man, my pleasure.
That's what we'd like to see.
Now, in all those
thank
lessons you learned about the lettering and coloring that went wrong in those 4 issues, you've applied them to all your newer comics, right? Like you haven't left anything behind. Is that right?
Nothing. I haven't left anything behind. Leaving it all on the court, so to speak.
Good.
I mean, now, and I just say that. I say that just to the community as people create. Every aspect of the production process is important, and it's of utmost importance. You've got your pencils, and you're so happy with that. I mean, you've got to get the right ink. Then of course you got to get the right colors, and the letters are of utmost importance. I mean, that can make or break your book right there. And I have received a couple of books, and having been the guy that produced a book with the crappy colors and letters, I've received a book and been like, oh man, I wish I could have told this guy,
Yeah.
these letters that you have, you're killing yourself.
Yeah,
You're killing yourself with
It
these
is
letters.
funny how quickly it can just pull you out of a story because you notice, you go, and then you remember that you're reading a comic instead of being inside a story.
Exactly.
Yeah.
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 I'm going through the exact same thing actually. When I first started with my comic, I'm pretty happy with the line art. I mean, it's not perfect. I do it better now than what I did all those years ago, but pretty happy with it. It's definitely where it needs to be. But the colors were just, I was like, you see all these amazing projects out there. If you're going to compete, you need to bring your A game, and I'm totally on board. So I'm actually going through that right now, going back and fixing all those old mistakes. Hey, I've just got to call out, thank you, Drew. He sends $2. He says, yay for Super Chat. Stay awesome. Thank you so much, buddy. Great to see you here, man.
John, if we get to have you on again, because you always put a little bit of yourself into your books and where did they come from and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get to talk again about the Magna book, because that's coming up, and finding out, where'd you draw on that for that story? Because I'm seeing the first, just issue 1, looking at it on my other window. It's like, okay, this is an adult nightmare version of Little Red Riding Hood. What is going on here?
Oh man, I've heard people call it like a nightmare Pippi Longstockings,
When is that scheduled to kick off, do you think?
Part of it is, and honestly, I'm going to talk with Shay just about how to go about this in a way that's more impactful than what I did with Black Tiger, because the production is complete.
Yeah.
So now it's a matter of marketing it properly. So
Yep.
I don't know yet, because first we'll wrap up this campaign, and then one of the things I love about the community is go about it in a way that actually is impactful and is actually reaching people, and that's where I appreciate even you letting me on the show, because that's something I'm still learning.
Oh no, I mean that's what we're here for. Like I said at the top of the show, I just like meeting cool, fun people who want to talk comic books, and that's what the chat show's up for. So I mean,
And anytime you want to
my
talk
pleasure,
comics or kung fu, I'm there.
Go check out that Marco Polo. It is a really good show. Like Lord Crackhead said, it's Game of Thrones level production. Every episode is like a movie. The cinematography, it's incredible, but I just don't think many people watch it. So even I was watching it the whole time thinking, how can they afford this?
And they can't.
They can't. No, they lost $200 million on it. All right. Well, the hour is up. It's been great to have you on here, and
Thank you.
I look forward to seeing you out there on the promo circuit, and hearing more about what you got going on, and up and up. That's where we're going.
That's it. I really appreciate you having me on the show.
All right, and Blue, thank you for
Yes.
being here as well, my friend. And
No
of
problem.
course, the sexiest chat in Comicsgate. Love seeing all you guys here. This has been a great show. Thank you so much for all your questions as well. That was awesome. Hang around, John. We're going to end the broadcast, but we'll chat afterwards. All right, guys. See you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.